This is the Jillian Grace Show, Vibrational Architect. I teach the discipline of redesigning the internal patterns that shape your love, your relationships, and the life you quietly know you were meant to live. Whether you're moving through familiar emotional cycles or you're a high achiever who senses there's more available to you, you're in the right place. This is where people learn to master the architecture of their lives and release the patterns holding them back from their inner blueprint. Each episode ends with a guided transmission to anchor the vibration we're working with so you can fully step into becoming the architect of your own life. Join me, Jillian Grace, as we pull back the layers and rebuild the vibration you were always meant to live from.
There is a moment in every person's life when they realize something quietly powerful. They haven't been stuck. They've been choosing the familiar. Not consciously, not intentionally, but biologically, emotionally, and psychologically, and energetically. Their system has been collapsing into the same version of themselves over and over again. Today's episode is about that truth. What you're not changing, you are choosing. This isn't a motivational slogan. It's a scientific reality. It's a psychological pattern. It's a quantum principle, and it's a metaphysical law. And once you understand it, you can't unsee it. And I'm going to teach you how to break it. Because the moment you recognize that non-action is still a choice, your entire life becomes available for transformation. First, your nervous system is the biology of repetition. Let's begin with the nervous system. It's the foundation of every emotional pattern, every relationship dynamic, and every self-worth loop. Your nervous system is a prediction machine. It doesn't choose what's best for you. It chooses what it expects. This is called predictive coding. Your brain constantly anticipates what will happen next based on what will happen before. So if your past has taught you people will leave, love is inconsistent, conflict is normal, your needs don't matter, you must perform to be accepted, your nervous system will recreate those patterns automatically. Not because you want them, but because they feel familiar. This is called identity homeostasis. It's your system protecting the old identity until you consciously intervene. So when you don't know how to change a pattern, or even that you're in a pattern, your nervous system interprets it as, we're choosing this again. Not changing is still a choice. It's a biological one. Next, behavioral psychology, and this is why familiar pain feels safer. It's a terrible way to think of it, but it's the truth. Psychology has known this for decades. Humans prefer predictable discomfort over unpredictable expansion. I see this all the time in my practice. It's why people stay in relationships that drain them. It's why they stay in jobs that suffocate them, emotional patterns that sabotage them, habits that undermine their growth. It's not self-sabotage, it's actually self-protection. Your brain is choosing the familiar because it believes the familiar is safer. This is rooted in learned helplessness, attachment theory, cognitive bias loops, emotional conditioning. Your brain is not trying to hurt you, it's trying to protect you from the unknown. So when you don't change, you're not failing. You're choosing the safest known identity. And not only changing from the outside, really, when you want to make a change, you have to start internally. You have to start with the way you're thinking about things. When you change that switch, you create a universal ripple. And within that ripple, you start to make unconscious changes that shift what's going to happen next and what the ultimate outcome is. So quantum physics is the field that responds to your non-action. And this is how we elevate all of this into the quantum field to help you understand it deeper. This is the part that most people never pay attention to. They don't understand, and it is the part that explains everything. In quantum mechanics, particles exist in superposition, which means multiple possible states at once, until an observer interacts with them. If you don't intervene, the system collapses into the most statistical familiar state. So what that means is your identity, your emotional patterns, your relationship dynamics, your self-worth, your trauma responses, they all collapse into the same outcome unless you disrupt the pattern. This is the physics version of the reason why you stay in this pattern. Not changing is still a choice, but it's a quantum choice. So let's talk about all of the quantum principles that support this theory so that you can understand just how deeply ingrained it is in our actual physical chemistry and also our energetic frequencies. First is the observer effect. This effect talks about not intervening collapses the same probability. Second is energy minimums. The system falls into the lowest energy state, your old identity. That happens time and time and time again when you do not make a switch or a conscious decision to change. You are going to default back into the lowest energy state, which means you're going to default back into the lowest frequency version of you. So the one that is the least happiest, the one that is the least ambitious. If you're not driving the direction for that to go in a different trajectory, then you are going to default back to the lowest. The third is quantum coherence. Your beliefs, your trauma, and your patterns all synchronize until you break coherence. So when you realize why you're making decisions, the core driver behind those choices, then you start to step into the ability to break that quantum coherence and make different changes. Next is frequency matching. You attract what you stabilize. So this is that like attracts like theory. So how you vibrate will pull towards you like vibrations, like experiences, like people, and like outcomes. So last but not least, one of my favorites is entanglement. Old wounds stay connected until you consciously disentangle. So in essence, you have to step back and release yourself from those patterns. The most important part to truly understand is that you are in full control. You are in full control with your awareness. And when you shift that awareness, you remain empowered. That's key. Next, let's look at some real world patterns that show how this presents itself in life. So let's bring this into real life, places where people get stuck without realizing that they're choosing the familiar. The first one is relationships. If you don't change your boundaries, then you're going to choose the same dynamic. If you don't choose to come at a relationship differently, maybe in a way that even makes you uncomfortable and allows you to be more exposed or more vulnerable, then you are going to find that you continuously repeat the same patterns. Your self-worth. If you don't change your internal dialogue and how you feel about you, then you're choosing the same identity and you're also asking the universe to bring back the same responses from the people around you and from your outer universe. So you have to change how you feel about you before that reflects differently. Next is your career. If you don't change your level of self-advocacy, then you're going to choose the same opportunities. So if you don't think that you're worthy and you don't think that you're good enough and you don't think that you perform well, then you're going to consistently create the exact same career over and over and over again. Next is your emotional patterns. If you don't change your regulation strategy, then you're going to choose the same triggers. I want to repeat that back. If you don't change your regulation strategy, then you are choosing the same triggers. People get so frustrated by this whenever I'm working with them because so many want to blame the outer world for their triggers when their triggers are always a reflection of inner work that needs to be done. So pay attention to them. They're going to teach you a lot about your emotional patterns and what patterns need to be broken so you can move forward. Last is your spiritual frequency. If you don't change your baseline resonance, then you are choosing the same manifestations. Every non-action is an action. Every avoidance is a choice. Every repetition is a collapse in probability. And if you don't change the way your frequency releases off energy, then you are going to consistently attract the exact same situations over and over and over again. And that's one thing that I love teaching people how to do, because once you get that piece where you change your frequency, you change the way you're showing up, then you start to architect an entirely different version. And that's the coolest part of really watching people bring themselves to life. Next, the breakthrough. So, how you choose differently. Here's the shift. You don't have to change everything, you just have to change one thing, your choice point. The moment you say choose differently, you say, I choose the unfamiliar. I choose the next version of me. Your nervous system is going to recalibrate and your identity is going to shift. Your quantum field will reorganize. And that change doesn't happen through force, it happens through interruption. So when you decide that you're going to make different choices, when you decide you're going to choose the next version of yourself, you're actually collapsing the old version and stepping into what would be considered a new timeline. Now, I've talked about this several times. When you move out of one area that you're familiar with into another, you are going to feel uncomfortable. Your nervous system is going to fight like you could never imagine to keep you back into that old pattern. It's going to say things to you that try to push you back into those old patterns. It's going to give you excuses about why you should stay there. It's going to try to attack anything, anyone, and even the information that comes through to support your moving forward. Your job is to stay conscious during those interruptions, to become aware of what they are, and to still choose that next version of yourself. Next is the emotional inertia, the physics of staying the same. There's a principle in classic physics called inertia. It's the tendency for an object to remain in its current state unless it's acted upon by an external force. Humans experience emotional inertia in the same exact way. If a human's been anxious for years, hypervigilant for decades, undersupported since childhood, dismissed in relationships, conditioned to be abandoned or to self abandon, your body develops momentum in that direction and it keeps you moving in the same direction, not because it's true, but because it's aligned, because it's in motion. This is why people say, I don't know why I reacted that way. I don't know why I shut down. I don't know why I stayed. I don't know why I didn't speak up. This is emotional inertia. And here's the part that is most important. Inertia is not an identity, it's momentum. Momentum can be redirected. The moment you introduce a new boundary, a new belief, a new emotional response, a new self concept, a new frequency, you apply an external force to the old emotional trajectory. You interrupt the momentum. You break the pattern. You choose differently. And that shifts the entire reality around you. This is how identity architecture shifts your self concept and brings a different reality towards you. Every person lives inside an identity architecture, a structure built from beliefs, memories, emotional conditioning, trauma imprints, cultural narratives, relational experiences, nervous system responses. This architecture determines what you think you deserve, what you think is possible, what you think is safe, what you think you can have, what you think you can sustain. Identity is not just psychological, it's neurological, it's somatic, it's energetic, it's quantum. Your identity is the observer in the observer effect. This is the force that collapses probability. This is the frequency that stabilizes your reality. And this is the coherence that holds the pattern in place. So when you don't change your identity architecture, you're choosing the same outcomes, the same relational dynamics, the same opportunities, the same limitations, the same version of yourself. You get what I'm saying about all of this. This is the identity blueprint of your life. And here's the breakthrough. Identity is editable. You can edit a different version of yourself at any time. You can revise your beliefs. You can step into different emotional responses. You can edit your boundaries. You can change how you feel about your own self-worth, your own expectancy, your own expectations, your own frequency. You can redesign the architecture. You can choose a new blueprint. And then you can collapse into a new probability. And that's where everything gets really fun. As always, at the end of each episode, I do a short guided meditation that helps you to integrate everything that we talked about and pull this energy into your field enough to begin playing with it, using it as your own and practicing it so that you can make your own internal shift. So I invite you to close your eyes and let your breath fall into its natural rhythm. And join me as we move through this guided integration together. Feel your body being held. Feel the safety of this moment. Now, bring awareness to your chest, the place where your emotional truth lives before your mind interprets it. There's a frequency there, a quiet hum, a subtle intelligence. Let it rise. And as it rises, imagine your life as a quantum field, a landscape of every version of you that exists, and a frequency surrounding your body. Some versions are familiar, some are outdated, some are painful, some are powerful. Right now, in this moment, without doing anything, your system is collapsing into the most familiar version of you. Not because it's right, but because it's known. Take a slow, deep breath in and exhale and whisper internally, I choose differently. Feel in your heart the version of you that makes you happy, excited, free, alive, authentic. Connect your thoughts onto that version of you and feel that choice ripple through your chest. Feel it shift the frequency. Feel it open to a new probability. Now imagine a soft light, your future self, standing one step ahead of you. Not far, not unreachable. Simply the version of you that emerges when you stop choosing the old pattern. Take one more breath and let your body anchor in the new choice. Feel that throughout your entire being, your entire field, and your entire frequency. Whenever you're ready, take another deep, cleansing breath and open your eyes. You're already changing the field. I want each and every one of you who heard this today to know you're not stuck. You're not behind. You're not failing. You're simply choosing. And now you have the power to choose differently. Because remember, each choice you make, the universe recalibrates, and the power is in your hands. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of The Jillian Grace Show. If you want to explore any of this work more personally, I offer private sessions where we go deeper into your old patterns, your nervous system, and your identity architecture to put you in line with the blueprint your soul remembers. And if you want ongoing teachings, you can always join my newsletter at jilliangrace.com. This is where I share our deeper layers of this work. And I will also put a link to that in the bottom of this podcast episode. Thank you so much for listening. I'm excited to chat with you again next week.
Let this episode settle into your system. And if someone in your life is moving through their own patterns or stepping into their next level, send this episode to them. The vibration you're integrating becomes stronger when it's shared. And if you feel called, liking the show or leaving a review helps this work to reach people who are meant to find it. I'm Jillian Grace, and I'll meet you in the next episode as we keep rebuilding the blueprint that you were always meant to live from.